Hey all, Pi here, and we are back in our life, beginnings and always. And last time we started looking at the different moments in step 1. And next we're going to do Sandcastle, I think, yeah. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering and blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. How did he break his arm? I want to know. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad. It had all your favorite things in it. But sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. I mean, fair enough. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly as he finally said aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. Yeah. Beach day sounds nice. Sorry, we're still like mid-pandemic. If anyone from the future goes back and watches these, this is being recorded before everything goes back to normal, if things ever go back to normal. If that is a thing that happens, I don't know. Anyway. The water? Yeah.
Oh.
Oh. I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently, soon wasn't soon enough. It never is. It's so pretty, the ocean. Mm-hmm. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. If you really just want to be a dick. I wish you didn't have a cast. Me too. Poor boy. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. Rude. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Then how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff.
Okay.
Yay, we're all in agreement. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle.
Cool.
Cool, this is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decide to make go for a castle. Go big or go home. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to build a fancy castle. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you'd built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a... sea glass. It was the best fit for your castle, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly. You put in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. You decided not to look. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
That's cute. That's really smart, actually. I'm impressed by this kid constantly. That's good. That's smart. You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. Kid's weird. And that was that for the current topic. Alright. Joy, can I see what you did? Sure. He scooted a bit. I can't. He scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. The castle you'd built was pretty impressive, all things considered. It had archways, tall walls, and even a little moat circling it. You would probably feel safe living there. Maybe your moms were the queens. Nice. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey Joy, what did you do? This is my castle. Shiloh didn't look so happy anymore. You both built castles?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? Aw, that's neat how you guys match. It's too bad we didn't all do it. Next time we should. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Shiloh! Oh no! Oops, I didn't even think about that. Oh no. I'm so sorry, Shiloh. I didn't mean to be a dick. This is why I don't have friends. Wouldn't that be boring? If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. Good dad. I don't think I'm very special. Oh, you are very special, Shiloh. You're gonna grow up to be a serial killer, I think.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. Boy lives in the moment. And no more tea. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Somehow I don't find that hard to imagine. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your mom met my dad, Joy? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you'd considered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I didn't think my mom had... I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Joy's parents and my dad met the same day I met them. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. Aww, Shiloh. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. I think Shiloh wants to talk too. Huh? We were talking just now. Just not right now. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. Cove, quit being a dick. Cove continued like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills over there, the ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded and stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you going to finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Okay. What is it? What? You said that in a weird way. I don't think I did. Cove narrowed his eyes at you, suspicious. Shiloh's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There's a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well...
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first, before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brow furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Oh no. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Don't bully him! Okay, it's kind of weird. Don't bully him! Shiloh is a sweet boy, and you will be the first one he kills. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment, and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. Don't bully the poor child. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Oh no.
Who asked you to come?
It was probably just your dad bugging Joy's family some more, because you don't have anyone else who ever play with you.
Oh.
Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. Yet he's one of those quiet types that, like, you don't know what's going on inside until it all comes out. I'm sorry. Me too, I was just wondering. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. The day is gonna be over soon. Joy, you're right. The sun is going down so fast. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. Don't ask people why their skin looks the way it does. That's just rude. Life lessons. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you tried to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile, when he said goodbye to Cove, wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. Aw. That had to count for something. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together towards the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near-perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You asked Cove what he was thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask. Hey Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face. Oh, I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that? When I said he was all when he was all red a lot. La la la. You shouldn't make fun of him. I wasn't. It sounded like you were to me. I didn't mean to. I guess I can get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. Hey, Joy, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feel guilty. Cove still didn't know what had happened when you met Mr. Holden. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay is all. Aw.
Thanks.
Thanks for telling me. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard. I'll tell him eventually. Just not right now. Eventually. You're welcome. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. You hugged Cove goodbye. You stepped forward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You turned your head, resting your cheek on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his sides. He wasn't much of a hugger, but you didn't get the impression he was unhappy that you were. Aww. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah, bye, Joy. He pulled away, then jogged towards your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too. As if he felt your eyes on him, he turned around. He waved. You did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he didn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow, after all, but for now, it was definitely something that you'd keep to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your house. Alright. Minimal casualties. Onward to fireflies.
Alright!
Tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. I'm just eating my mac and cheese, leave me alone! Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Mom is just like, are you sure about that? You started eating faster. A grin curved your lips as you started to eat a bit faster, excited for what was to come. It seemed like you were too excited, however, as you started to choke and cough on your food from shoveling it down so quickly. Yeah, don't inhale. Mommy reached over to pat you on the back, firmly helping to dislodge the noodles and enable you to breathe again. You took a big gulp of water from your glass, giving your moms the sheepish look. Oops. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Jones? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lightening up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. Yeah, work be like that sometimes. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese onto her mouth while you waited for their response.
There.
Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Mission accomplished! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you'd finished chewing to say anything, because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full. Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all of the poppies, okay? Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if somebody died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Gosh darn it, death. Now we can't go catch fireflies. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth?
Jeez.
No one's gonna die. Sheesh. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Don't do that, kids. Don't ever do that.
Huh?
Huh? You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove. Hi. You're here. Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there. It meant he could join you in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off, 'cause I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver out of his large side pocket, eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back at home when we moved. Great, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie's trying to get rid of him. They do not get along. Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged, and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here alright. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him.
Hi.
Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you gonna catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. Calm down, Lizzie. Just be nice. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I can do that. Yes! I've never caught one before. Ooh, new experiences. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been anywhere he used to live. I am struggling with reading tonight. I am so sorry. We can't go out until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. Straight up, just eggs? Okay. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended, because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun. This will be so nice. As you polished off your meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie, he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Joy. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. You walked with him. You fell behind, sliding up next to him and matching his stride. He noticed right away.
It's okay.
You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out and creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle.
Wow.
Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What?
Oh.
Oh, look, Lizzie. Oh, look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin as you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Aww. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You told him about the firefly you had. Hey, wanna see the one I got? Cove gave one more look in the direction of his lost prize before coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held your hand out and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over the top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. You stayed very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked. Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned into a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Joy. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkwardly low 5. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. The firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. You forgave him. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Right. Bugs have to stay outside. Yes, they do. Do not bring bugs into the house. And if you do bring bugs in the house, please transport them back outside. Oh, whoa. How did I do that? Let's get another. you decided to collect more. Uh-huh, we can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran out into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. That's how it be sometimes. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background.
Joy!
Joy, this way! You follow the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms out in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success, with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out, and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily, and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Joy, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shout caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie and Shiloh. Yeah, they just dipped. They were somewhere else in another universe for this whole thing. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning you with a quick hand gesture. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued by the idea. Hi. Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. Aww. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
Aww. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. I'll stay with Cove.
Really?
Really? Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I want to watch. You moved beside him on top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. She's like, get your ass over here. That is not how races work. We only need one referee. You shrugged your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner whether you join in or not. Okay. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown. Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duty seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at a high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Poor boy. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she had ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad, you got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in. No. You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been part of the mini debacle. You caught Cove's eye and saw that he was doing the same. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together, side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. But you only have 10 fingers, so how will you ever know? You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. Okay. And I didn't buy the DLCs, so we can't do these this time at least. Maybe in the future. We'll see. So, the summer ended. I am sure. I'll never get tired of that view. Sorry, my voice is dying. You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know that it had magicians on the shop street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out more. Date night. You didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out?
Duh.
'Cause I know. That's not what real magic looks like. Oh, really? Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. You looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since you started home. He didn't look upset, though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Try to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we stay just a little longer? Mom looked down at you with a sigh, and you clasped your hands together to give your plea some extra appeal. We'll help with dinner tomorrow. You immediately nodded in agreement with the very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined. Yes, we are more powerful and more cute together.
Please.
Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. No. Well...
No.
Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Alright. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudged his arm with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right? After begging, you can just go like, I'm going home. Don't I get a say in this? Lizzie looked over at you, narrowing her eyes like she was very seriously contemplating the answer to that question. No, you do not. You're the younger sibling. Know your place. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? The wind does what it wants. That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots of pans if I want to make the most of tomorrow. Okay. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading for the beach. I'm going with Cove. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
Cool. He made a little gesture that you interpreted as, follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, and then tossed it out into the water. You were impressed over how far you got it to go. It sailed way out into the sea. You looked for your own rock. Deciding to join Cove, you searched nearby for any rocks or shells that you could throw too. You found a shell that would suit your purposes, a smile growing as you tossed it as hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipped down into the water. When you looked over at Cove, he didn't seem to notice that his throw had been more impressive. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. How'd you get it? I was jet skiing. What the frick? You were jet skiing, child? What? What the frick? This child was jet skiing? What? What? Excuse me? I'm sorry. Really? Cove narrowed his eyes a little. Yeah, why would I lie? I didn't mean it like that. He then continued to explain. I crashed. Yeah. He gestured to his arm as if to say, and this was the result. It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski. Yes! Yes, that is my problem! Why was the child jet skiing?
Whoa.
I'm not. Oh, there's more to this story. Oh. Cove let out a huff, plopping down onto the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. Cool, you're going to like it. Everyone's super nice. You'd only ever been to the one school, but you're sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kinda scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them back to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
Aww. Excuse me. You'd never had to move before, but you thought you could understand. If you had to go to a new school all of a sudden, with all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you weren't sure how to help. Okay, I'll see you later? Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right, Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here, the one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. You settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. This can be your home. It's a really nice home, if you give it a chance. Cove didn't respond to that. He just tightened his arms around his knees, resting his chin on them. You're not going to leave, right? You'll still be around. The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun. Cove smiled and looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. You spared a glance over at Cove to see the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. You can remember a long time ago when you'd first started going to school. You'd absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, to listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you'd never met before. Things changing is hard. Yes! As an adult, I'm like, I frickin' hate change. I just want to stay in my routine forever and no alteration. Rant done. Wait. Things... Oh. You held his hand. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead you reach out and take hold of Cove's hand. The one closest to you is the one in his cast, so you make sure you were very gentle. As you watched, Cove's eyes got a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears than the ones from before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will. It will. The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You'd definitely try to help in what ways you could. There were so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time had really gone by fast. You stood and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately... Okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own.
Joy.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, he said that too. It was nice. Where you were right then. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. And so the summer ends. In between. Wait, why am I back at the... Why am I back at the character screen? Done? Push it there and then like boop. Maybe like that. Because like I wish there was something between like fondness and crush. Like I wish this was a bit more nuanced. Oh well. Ready. Yes. What is going on? Oh! I can change him now! Oh boy! Give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Alright, so this is what we're rolling with for his outfits in general style. Hope everyone's okay with that, because that's what we're doing. Oh wait, frick. I didn't do all of it. Frick. Can I go back? Yes. Good. Wait. Can I change this too? Oh, okay. Interesting. I like warm, studious Cove. It's cute. I'll leave that alone. Oh, this is how you do both. I am a dumb. Give me a minute. Okay, that took entirely more effort than it ever should have. So, that's where we're going to end this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I haven't annoyed you too much with my dumb assery, and I hope that you will join me again in 2 weeks.